So in this particular webinar, we will be covering what is Storybook and where does Locofy fit in. Then we will be seeing a React Storybook application, how to configure it, and what are the things you need to keep in mind when you are working with Storybook. Finally, when we have our Storybook application built on React up and running in a local machine, we will see how we can configure it and export the components from your Storybook to Locofy. After that, we will see how you can create a design in Figma using the Locofy plugin with your own Storybook components over there. Finally, towards the end, we will have a short Q&A session. You can post your questions over there. Uh, it does not have to be related to Storybook per se, but feel free to chime in and even share your feedback in the question and answer session. So without wasting any further time, let's get started. So the first thing that we have is what is Storybook. So Storybook in itself is a front-end workshop for building UIs and maintaining them. Storybook comes across as a front-end tool that accelerates development when you are working in teams and you have a large UI library that you want to manage. With Storybooks, you can test your UI components in isolation and not only just see the UI components, but also their variations. So with Storybook, what you can do, you can pass some props to your UI and you can easily switch between different variations without actually passing any customized data actually. So what you do is that you have a UI over here that you can see, and you can just simply click on any of this. You can then simply choose the prop and you can update it. Besides that, you can even configure interaction designs, accessibility, and actions on this isolated UI components. Another great feature of Storybook is that with Storybook, you can cover edge cases as well. So while you are building UI, you can easily render components in stakes that are tricky to reproduce in an app. And then you can even score those stakes and you can view them later and you can use them as a reference while you are testing. Finally, with Storybook, you are not just limited to a few UI libraries. For example, it supports React, Vue, Angular, and much more. Besides that, it also supports CSS, multiple CSS styling options. So you have support for the normal CSS, you have support for CSS modules, Tailwind, and it makes sure that while you're working with it, you don't leave your favorite tools behind. So it has a add-on infrastructure where you can quickly install an add-on of your favorite UI library or your UI components, and it will support them seamlessly. So we will go over all of this and how Storybook can support all of this in a bit. Okay, so that was Storybook for you guys. And now let's move on into where does Locofy fit in. So Storybook is great for testing those components that are built by developers in isolation. But what about designing? What about bringing those components back into your Figma files and designing using those components? So to cover that use case, Locofy has actually integrated itself with Storybook. So now you have support for Storybook version 6 as well as the latest Storybook version 7 out of the box with Locofy. The process is quite simple. We will see, but the benefit that you will get from going is that you will be able to bring your UI components directly into your into your Figma, and you can rapidly continue to design without wasting or without making without being unsure that your components look different on your design and actually in code. So that was the first point, and I hope you now understand clearly what is Storybook and where does Locofy fit in this equation. Now let's explore a Storybook app that I have built. So this is a Storybook application that I built, and I'll quickly run it. So over here, you can see that we got two components over here, and there is this input field, and then there is this card. But I know this sounds very simple right now, like these components, but the architecture that went behind building them is quite interesting. So this is a very standard React app that you are seeing over here. The difference is that we have a stories folder. Now, to get started with this, what you can do, you can start with installing Storybook and configuring them. But to save everybody's time, I already configured these things beforehand. So while I present to you, I can give you a rough overview of what is and how to configure Storybook. And then we can quickly see how you can easily integrate it with Locofy. But if you want, you can just search online for Storybook Skarker templates, and you will find a bunch of templates online that you can use. In the example over here, I have actually used this particular template, and we will be sharing this link with all of you by the end of this webinar. Okay. So over here, we have a stories folder that you can see, and this has multiple stories in it. Now you must be asking, what is a story? So you can think of story as a schema, basically, of your UI component. So inside a story, you export different stakes, or you export different constant, and each constant is a stake over here. So you can see we have small, large, secondary, and primary. And then you have a default stake as well, where you are passing in a component, which is a button. So this button that you are passing in, it's a very standard button. Like this is a standard UI library of React. The difference over here is that we are using prop types to make sure that we get some type safety, as well as we can inform Storybook. So over here, you can see these are pretty standard types that are passed over here. We have a on-click action, we have a label, size, background color, and primary. So primary is a Boolean variable, whereas with size, you can only select one of small, medium, and large. At the end of this file, you can see we have a default props for the button as well. So we have background color, primary, and size is a medium. And for on-click, we have defined as undefined actually. So what we are doing is that in the button, we are passing all of these props, and we are destructuring it over here. Ideally, what you can also do is that you can also pass this as props, just as props, but it is recommended that you do it in this way, so that it's easier for you to access them down here. So over here, you can see we just have a background color that we are setting in the style. Then based on the size, we are adjusting it based on the appropriate size that's being passed to it. So for example, if it is medium, if you go to button.css, you will see that there is a medium style over here. See. So similarly, what we are doing, we also attaching the mode class name and class name that will be provided by Locofy and Storybook over here, and we are then joining them. Now we have done something similar for the other cards as well, that you can see. So in this other component also, you can see we have a class name, and then we are joining them. Similar things I've done for the inputs as well, you can see. So if you just if you think about this components in isolation, just forget about Storybook, you will see that this is something that's very generic. Like if you were to create a component and you plan to reuse it, it will probably look something like this. Now, where the Storybook coming and how the Storybook can use this? So I already gave you an intro about this constants that we are exporting. Now I'll show you what this tag do and what this argument types. So with Storybook, you can set a title which you want to call this component. So for example, I'll just call this button. Then you can pass that this is the component that you are referring to. Then you can add some tags to it. We will see what it means in a short while. And this is an interesting thing. So this is the argument types. So with Storybook, if you remember, when I showed you this image over here, you can see that we were able to customize these props over here, and you can specify that what this prop should accept. So basically what you are doing is that you are notifying Storybook about the components or the basically the kind of input that this component should accept, and what will be the name of that input. Okay. And what I've done over here for the primary, constant, secondary, and all the other variables is that in every, so first of all, this is object, and in every object we have our arguments or arcs over here, which is another object. And in this object, you can see that we have passed a label size. So all of these things that you are seeing over here, it depends upon the this naming convention. So size label, it depends upon the component that you have. So for example, because this is a button, if I hover over it, you can see we have a size and label. That's why we are passing those. If I go over to another story that I have over here, and if I hover over it, you will see I have a title and description, and that's what we are passing over here. So this arguments, it kind of depends upon the components that you have created and the props that they should be accepting. To understand it better, I'll run Storybook over here. So this is Storybook, and over here you can see the buttons and components that we created. So we created a card, we had an input, we had a button, and the pages is the default one over here that we have. So because we added this tag over here, AutoDocs, it automatically went ahead and created this documentation for us. It is a very basic documentation, which basically just shows you the kind of controls and the description of some properties that you have. So for example, all of these are the props that it should be accepting, and then you see a very basic description of them. Now the interesting thing over here is that if you scroll down, you can see that you are seeing all of these components. And if you click on show code, you can see the kind of props you need to pass to these components in order to make it look like this. So over here, you can see when you pass primary, it will look like this. When you don't pass from primary, it will look like this. For the larger components, you need to pass in the size large. So all of this it picks up from your configuration over here, this thing. And when you click on any of this, you can even open this components in isolation. So you see there is nothing else on the page. It is just this one component that we have. Another thing to note over here is the control. So if you remember, we specify that for background color, the control should be color. So over here for the background, you can see we have a color control as well. Now we also define this cards and inputs components. And if you go over here, you can see that all the hover and all the others, like all the CSS styling, it's all respected over here. And we can even pass some other components over here, as you can see. Now we have some different stakes of this thing, and you can see that in every one of them, the properties are very different. Now, if I go to input as well, you can see the placeholder is different for all of them. To visualize this better, I think buttons is a very nice example compared to these, because in buttons, what you are doing is that when you are switching between these, you are actually seeing the changing UI as well. With buttons as well, however, you can even change the text. So text input and every input else works. There is a list of inputs that Storybook supports that you can find on their website. So this includes regio, checkboxes, booleans, colors, and a whole lot more. So this is how you can configure Storybook. Now, we will move on to the next part of the webinar, where I'll show you how you can connect it with Locofy and how you can do this thing with Locofy. So for this, I'll just go over here only. I've created a separate page over here, and this just contains a frame basically, and I'll just call this my screen. So I can right click, I can open a Locofy plugin. If you cannot find a plugin over here, just go over here, find more plugin, and search for Locofy, and you should be able to find it. So I'll run this plugin. Now click over here and let's create a new plugin. So I'll create a new plugin. I'll call this webinar Scory. Now, one thing to note over here is that we only support Storybook right now for React. So if you choose Next.js or Gatsby, they won't work. You need to choose pure React over here. Now you can choose whatever framework you want. There is no restriction around that. Okay. Now in this new story, you will see that in the Locofy plugin, we have introduced a step-by-step flow, and all of this step-by-step flow, what this step-by-step flow does is that it ensures that you don't miss a step while you are converting your designs to code. So we make sure that the code that you get in your hands is actually pretty high quality. Now, above all of these steps, you will see that we have a line over here which says not finished designing, that pre-built components. So you can click on this and you will see that we already have support for some of the prominent UI libraries like Material UI, Bootstrap, and if you scroll down, you will find Chakra UI as well, and design. You can easily drag and drop into your design files as well if you are using this library, and you can even edit the theme of this. So you can, if I click over here, you can see you can easily edit the theme and use a custom theme as well. Okay, so now you can just click over here, and now over here you will be introduced to our Storybook integration that we have. So if you follow all of these steps one by one, you will have your Storybook project up and running with Locofy in no time. So the first step is actually to install this. So you can click on copy. Then you need to go back and you need to run this. So I'll just copy this server for a while. Okay. Now you need to make sure that you need to add this into your Storybook main.js file. So you can scroll up, you can add this over here, then you can save it. Now this is quite important. You need to create a env file. So just close this and just create a env file. And over here, you need to copy this and you need to paste it. So this is the API key of your project, and we will use this to make sure that the stories that you are syncing, it is synced with the right project. Then once you have done all of that, go npm run build Storybook. So this will build your Storybook. While it is building, the next step is actually now to sync the storybooks that you have built with Locofy. So you need to run npx Locofy sync. So copy that. Okay, our stories are now built. So I'll just go npx Locofy sync. Okay. Now our stories are synced with Locofy, you can see. Now we need to serve the storybook's static file. So this is the production version of your storybook basically. It's running on localhost 3000. So let's visit that. So as you can see now, this is this is the Storybook production version. As you can see, now you need to go back, and the final step over here is to click on the Locofy add-on and click on the add-on to sync your selected components with the Locofy plugin. So you can click over here, then you need to click on this. So you will see that Locofy has identified all the stories that you have created. So I'll just sync button, and I'll just sync input for now, just for this, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how you can sync more. So now you can click on export. Okay. So now that your export is successful, you can go back over here and you can click on this final step, which is I've completed all the steps. Awesome. Now you can see that with just that very minute configuration, we were able to import all the Storybook components into Locofy. So now we will see how you can use them in your design file as well. So what I'll do, I'll create a form right now and I'll show you how it will look like. So for the form, I'll just select a frame right now inside it, something like this. Then I'll apply auto layout. For this form as well, I apply auto layout, and over here, I'll just make sure that there is no unnecessary styling. So I'll just do something like this. Okay. Now over here, I'll just drag the UI components that I created. So for the form, I want a input field. So I'll drag the email over here. As you can see, we have the email. For the frame, maybe I can set it to fill. We will see the styling a bit later on. Again, you can go back over here and you can drag the password as well. So now you have password as well. Now every form needs a button as well, right? So I'll just drag this button as well. So now you have all the three elements that you need to complete a form. So over here, then you can click on this vertical layout. So now this is vertical. And now what you can do over here is that you can set this to hug. Okay. So now this is hug, and then you can set this to this. So now this is over here, or you can set it to like this. So it all comes down to how you want to design your form, basically. Okay. We got our inputs as well. Now it's time to actually preview it. Awesome. So now that when you preview it, you can see that if I zoom in, you can see that the elements that you have over here, they are working very nicely, and this is directly from your Storybook. So this the elements that you're seeing, you can see we still got the hover effects, and our button is a proper button. Now let's move on and start customizing this. So you can click on this. Sorry. Now I'll change this label to submit. Again, for this, for example, instead of saying please enter a password, let's change it to something like please, or maybe just like enter passcode. Okay, and you can see the interactive preview as well on all of this. For this, I'm just leaving it as it is. Now you can see these are changed as well. Now let's add some basic styling to our form. So I'll put this in a frame. I'll apply auto layout. I'm happy with the hike, so I'll go with this. Make it center aligned. Let's preview it again. So this looks good to me. Now for this, also for the fill, instead of fill, maybe I'll use hug over here for the hike. And now let's do some very basic styling. So I'll add some stroke over here. Maybe I'll reduce the border, something like this. And Let's add some border radius quickly. Okay. Now if I go back to preview, this looks like a pretty normal form to me, but the interesting thing over here is that, of course, that these are components that you brought in from your storybook, and now they are directly in your Figma. Now, once you're done with all of these steps, you can click on done. Now you can click on sync to builder. Now you can select all your frames or you can select the frames that you want. So in our case, we only have this one frame, my screen. So I'll select that. Okay. Awesome. As you can see, you got all your components over here. And if you see the code over here, you can see that um, we have correctly imported the right components, and this is interactive as well over here. So if I go to view prototype, you can see that this is interactive. However, one thing to note over here is that to actually import, to actually bring this back into your file, right? You see we have added some comments at the top, which says add import for storybook input, add import for storybook button. So basically, what we are saying is that you need to import these components by yourselves. So once you export your code, which you can go by clicking over here, and then you can sync or export your project, you need to manually bring in your components, and you need to basically import them over here. But once you have imported them, they should work seamlessly. A quick way of is that you can push your existing code. So I can push this to GitHub, and then you can push this particular screen over there as well, and then it becomes much more easier for you to um, imp, uh, import your components, right? Okay. So now, let's move on to the very last part of the webinar, which so we already saw all the first four things, which was what is Storybook, exploring Storybook app, configuring it to run with Locofy, creating a design with Storybook components. Now let's actually move to the very last step, which is iteration, and then we will move over to the Q&A. So if you remember, like over here, I skipped a card component, right? I did not include that. So I wanted to show you how you can actually uh, easily always bring your components to Locofy without actually um, creating a new project or going through all of the steps. So once you have this entire setup over here that we ran basically by adding all of this, then whenever you are following all the steps, right, which you can find over here as well. So every time you need to build your storybook, then you need to sync it. And once you have synced it, right, and you have it up and running, you can continue to bring your components to storybook and to Locofy actually. So for example, we have cards over here, and I can click on this. Now if I click again, you can see it says export successful. So if I go back over here, if I go back and I click on reload, you can see that we have our carg as well over here. And now we can even bring our cards, as you can see. And we can even customize the properties. So we already saw that how to customize these properties for buttons and inputs. You can do the same over here for this carg as well. So maybe I want to, instead of sneakers, I want to shape shoes. Okay. Now if I go to preview, you can see that it says shoes, and all the correct stylings have been applied over here. You also see interactive preview as well. So that was all for today's webinar, and how to bring your components from your like personal components from a custom UI library all the way to Storybook, and then how to integrate with Locofy. I hope you enjoyed this session. Now we will be moving towards question and answers. So if you have any questions, feel free to share them with us over here. Yeah, we got a very interesting question over here. What are your thoughts on Figma's recent announcements? They have something like Locofy, but where does Locofy stand out? Now, this is a pretty interesting question because I was actually watching a Figma config as well last night, and Figma is a really impressive tool. It's really powerful, and the problem that we are solving, it's good to see that Figma is actually acknowledging it as a problem as well. So some of the things that Figma is doing, like variable sync prototyping, as well as allowing you to have a developer mode where you can easily view your code. It's one of the problems that we are solving as well. And I genuinely believe this. I genuinely believe that Locofy and Figma, if they work together beautifully, we can make sure that the users they have an excellent developer experience while building apps rapidly. The second part is where does Locofy stand. So Locofy actually heavily uses AI, and the code quality that we produce is unparalleled right now. So we have features like components, we generate props. We also have some awesome features that we already saw in the last community call that are coming up. And our team also has provided a great community support. So with all of that things, I think Locofy and Figma both actually um, can solve this design code problem pretty nicely for you. So we also got another question over here, which is if I update a component on Figma and I sync it with the builder, does it also update the storybook design? Yes. So basically, if I remember, if I can understand your question correctly, you cannot edit the components in Figma right now because it's a limitation. As far as I know, it's a limitation by Storybook. So what Locofy has done is that it's actually created its own API. And when we bring in your components right from Storybook, what we do, we just bring in an image. So you can see these are all these images right now. We are working on finding a better workaround for this. So feel free to join the community and share your feedback over there or what struggles are you facing. But in the meantime, you cannot directly customize your components, Storybook components in Figma. What you can actually do is that you can combine those Storybook components using frames. So something like this that I did over here. So you can call this something like login form, and you can call this like a button, submit button wrapper, and you can merge and use these components together. But right now, customizing those components directly inside Storybook is not possible. Let me know if you guys have any further questions as well. Okay. Okay, we got another question. I just want to know how can we easily use Locofy to build a responsive application? So actually, it's pretty interesting because Locofy's responsiveness it's actually based on Figma. So if your designs are responsive on Figma, they are supposed to be responsive on Locofy as well. So now you would be asking, how do I check um, my designs whether they're responsive in Figma or not? So it's quite easy to check basically. So I'll just show you how you can do that. So I can create a frame over here and I'll apply Auto Layout. So Auto Layout is a Flexbox implementation done by a Figma team. So if I import some more components over here, I'll just duplicate this and I'll apply Auto Layout to these as well. As you can see, I'll make it fill container. Now I'll add some fill color maybe. Okay, so now you got this two over here. And You can write some text over here as well. So I'll like hello. I'll make this text responsive as well. So I'll copy this, I'll paste it over here as well. Okay. Now this is actually responsive in Figma. So now if you see, this is responsive, right? So if I open the same thing on Locofy, right, you will see that this is responsive on Locofy as well. Now, one thing that Locofy does differently when it comes to responsiveness is that in Figma, you can only configure this by default, right? So it does not matter if your designs are like this or like this. You will always follow this set of rules over here. But with Locofy, what you can do once you have selected this, you can go to your styling and you can say like, hey, I want this to be, I don't want horizontal layout on 960 pixels. I want to have a vertical one. So you can click on this. Now, if you go back, you can see that on 960 pixels, it changes from a horizontal to a vertical. So this is and a very short summary of Locofy's approach to responsiveness and how you can use Figma to build responsive apps with Locofy. Okay, we got another question. So your question is that I cannot find the drag and drop pre-built components on my plugin. Okay, so we actually have drag and drop pre-built component support our only for React, Next.js, Gatsby uh, right now. For HTML, we support Tailwind, but we don't support these components over here right now for all of this library. For React Native as well, we have support for UI libraries over there, but you don't have drag and drop components over there yet. So if I switch to a React Native project, you can see I don't get that option right now. And just to just to make it very clear, the storybook that we have, it's also actually available only for React. So it's not there for your Next.js and Gatsby projects yet for your Vue React Native all. Okay, another person is asking, okay, can I use the UI libraries to build an app? Yes, so you can actually use the UI libraries to build an app from scratch as well. So for example, if you have a new frame over here, you can quickly bring in the UI library components from over here and you can rapidly build your apps. The advantage of doing this is that it's already tagged, and if you click over here, you can see that you get a very, like this all complies with the Material UI theme because this is using Material UI. And what you can also do further is that you can change the theme of this as well. So you can make sure that this matches with your theme. So I can click over here. I can click on palette and then I can edit the palette. Okay. Now if we go back, you can see that we are following a different theme over here. And you can mix and match components from different UI libraries as well. So if you want something like a button from Material UI, but you want a bootstrap for your input fields, you can just bring this in as well. Okay, I hope that answered your question. Okay, so if nobody has any more questions, I'll just share some resources in the chat right now. And then I'll be looking forward to the next webinar. Awesome. Thank you for joining this webinar. And I've shared some resources in the chat. feel free to refer to those. I highly recommend you guys to join the Locofy community. You will get some excellent support and you will be first in line to know about the updates. We value your feedback very much. So whatever feedback you share over there, uh, you can see that we will probably build it for you in a couple of weeks' time. Okay. So with that being said, now let's end the webinar.